thanks for purchasing the LUTs and supporting me through the print store so far. I wanted to make this little video to show you guys how you can speed up your process using the LUTs and basically how to really effectively use them. So we're gonna jump into Premiere right here, and we have the LUT highlight, which I have released for you guys the other day. I've pulled all of the effects and all of the adjustment layers and stuff off. It's a pretty diverse range of footage that I've actually got in here. So as you can see, there's like Blackmagic footage, we've got drone shots, we've got every different camera that I really have basically has footage in this clip. Once you've got your timeline laid out here really nice, with all of your selected footage, you might have a song in there, you might have a few sounds from a few clips. Basically, you want to go ahead and grab an adjustment layer. So the adjustment layer is what you want to drag on top of a few layers or a layer above your footage, and this is something you're going to stretch out over your whole timeline, just so as then it will cover all of the clips. Generally speaking, it's a good idea to put any text or anything that's not actually the video footage above that layer. So that's always a good idea, just so then the color doesn't affect anything that you're not intentionally trying to affect with it. So then you want to jump right back to the beginning, and if you click on the adjustment layer here, you've got a few different options in the Lumetri color tool here. So basically what you want to do here is jump into Lumetri color, and instead of using basic correction to install the LUT, you actually want to do it in creative. This is going to give you a little bit more flexibility, because in the intensity slider, you're actually going to be able to drag it backwards and forwards, make it more intense or less intense if you need, depending on how flat your footage or depending on how contrasty your footage might be already. So we're going to go ahead and hit browse, type in modern mood into the search bar, and that's going to reveal where the actual LUT pack is. These 10 different LUTs that I've made for you guys. So basically you can grab any one of these. We'll start with number 1 and chuck the Feelin' Agfa Vista replica on top of here. This is inspired by a couple of presets for photos that I had in my Lightroom that were actually emulating Agfa Vista film. So we're going to take that one. As you can see, it is pretty dark on the footage straight off the bat. Some shots are pretty underexposed here. Other shots are looking really nice already. If I play that here, then you can see when I turn it off and turn it back on. Turn it off, turn it back on. It's actually doing quite a lot of contrast and saturation and giving you a few moody greens and really making those colors pop in this sunset here. Once you've got it on there, you might not actually want it to be that intense. So the best way to use LUTs is actually by grabbing that intensity slider, turning it all the way down, and then finding a clip that's kind of like your average medium of your whole project, and then just actually gradually turning it up until you kind of get that desired effect. So if you see you go too far, it starts clipping in the image, because basically with video you're dealing with a JPEG file, essentially. It's 25 JPEGs in a row. Basically, if you start at 0 and turn it up until you get that desired effect and it's not crunching your image too much, that's going to be a good place to start. So if we go back to our first shot here, what I'm now going to do is, instead of being clicked on this adjustment layer, I'm going to now click on the clip itself and go into basic corrections, and here is where you're going to be able to adjust the color and saturation and everything of clips individually. So with this one, the highlights are looking pretty sweet, so we're just going to lift up the shadows, lift up the highlights just a little bit more, shadows back down, save the highlights just a touch, and just pull the exposure back down. So we're getting quite a bit of green sort of in these shadows here. So what we might do is just turn down the LUT just a little bit more. The shadows are already pretty faded on this Blackmagic footage because it is so flat and filming, but that's looking pretty nice. So now if we keep going through, that's looking good. So if we pause it and just turn it off and on again, it's just adding a little bit of contrast back in there. This clip, we might want to actually add a little bit more black into and just lift the shadows slightly, save the highlights a little bit, and just give it a little bit more exposure. We might just like add a little bit more black in there. Always a good idea to also grade with your Lumetri scopes on, which is something that I quite often forget to do. I quite often go by what looks good for me and what feels good for me. So definitely good to keep in mind this scope section here where you're going to be able to see all the range in your image. And right now we've got a lot of information sitting towards the dark end of the scale, which is around 0. But basically this image is pretty dark, so we don't have a whole lot of clipping highlights, and I didn't really want too many clipping highlights in this clip. We can lower the blacks a little bit, lift up the shadows, and then just save those highlights just a pinch. Give it a little bit of contrast in there too. This could actually be warmed up just a pinch. So now, if you see what we've kind of done, we can turn our lumetri color off in the tab here and see what effect we've done. We've actually done quite a bit on the individual clip itself, and then you can see what the LUT is doing here too. So if we turn off basic correction, and turn the LUT on and off, we're gonna go ahead and just delete our little adjustments that we've done on these clips, and I'll show you how to do the same thing with one more. Now we're going to jump straight back onto that adjustment layer, and we're going to jump into the creative tab and grab another one of the LUTs. So another one that I really like is our Feelin' Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Normalized. If you're looking for a really clean commercial look, that's going to really help you out. If you've got S-Log footage or Blackmagic footage, this is going to be great to use. So we're going to select that one, and same deal again, we'll start from 0 and we'll turn it back up until we get to the desired effect that we want. So we're getting some really nice saturation in those clouds right there. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to jump back onto the base clip there and just lift the shadows up a lot there and save the highlights a little bit too. So we can see we're getting a pretty nice looking normalized kind of look here. Not too much work happening in the shadows and the highlights, and not too much sort of split toning happening where you get that really adjusted color in your highlights and really adjusted color in your shadows. It's just really nice, simple look. So if we go through everything now, you can see that it's looking pretty clean. As you can see, we've got a nice bit of contrast happening on this clip with the car in the Dolomites. Not the biggest fan of how it is sort of adjusting the greens there. So one super neat little trick that you can do here is hit this HSL secondary tool. You can click on the color that you're not loving, and basically grab that selected color just by pulling out these things here. We've got a highlight, saturation, and luminance, and basically I'm just creating a mask for that color. So right now I'm just extending that out until we grab all of that color in there. That's a little bit too much. We don't want to grab too much on the hill. It's mostly just the color of the grass below. So sometimes you just got to move that around and find where that little bit of the mask is that we're actually looking for. Here it seems like it's just literally just in the luminance, so just going to find where that is, drag that out a little bit in the saturation. That's looking pretty good, and I just throw a little bit of denoise and a little bit of blur on here just to even it out and just make sure that the mask doesn't have any hard edges or anything like that. So that's what we're doing there. Now we're going to jump down and just basically decrease the saturation. So if you're really looking to get trendy with the old school, I don't know what year it was, but when selective color was in effect, you can just turn that right off and just have a gray grass. That's kind of fun. But basically what we're looking to do is just decrease that saturation of that popping green, which I'm not a huge fan of. And just get it nice, happy medium there. And you can also sort of warm up that grass a little bit more. So we've made a nice little dent in the luminance of that green, which was kind of bugging me before. So that's another fun little thing that you can play with and really tighten up the color of your films. These clips here are looking pretty nice, but let's go ahead and just change the LUT that's actually on top of the adjustment layer again. So we clicked on the adjustment layer. So this time we're just gonna grab the Feelin' Storms Coming LUT and throw that onto the adjustment layer. So we've got that right here. And we're gonna leave this one in intensity 100 this time, and we're gonna do a little bit of playing around in the basic correction. So as you can see, when you throw it straight on, it's doing pretty good, but we just wanted to lift the shadows slightly, add a little bit of whites in the image, and pull the highlights all the way back, just because of the type of footage that we've kind of already shot. So as you can see, it gives you a really stormy, moody grade on all of the footage. So if I just play through that right now, you can see it's looking pretty good across the whole project, and we kind of haven't really played with too much. So if you have a project that is kind of a lot of similar darker tone shots or something like that, then you can apply the adjustments to the adjustment layer to really neaten up the look of that LUT. So I hope that helps you guys, and I hope basically this gives you a little bit more understanding for how LUTs work and how you can apply them to your footage. And yeah, I'll chat with you guys soon. Thanks again. Peace.